Game time, show time. What's going on? Hey, we're getting a little bit of gap down in the markets today. First of all, good morning. Hello. Happy Thursday. Thursday's a very, very nice day. It's the day after hump day, which is, frankly, should be, the best day of the week for a lot of you old timers, because that might be the only day you get it going after a certain age. Unless you're a trader, then, of course you make love to your hands all the time, because it's the only way to release stress, right? It's the only thing you can do during the day. You can drink beer, smoke cigarettes, or go on the hunt, right? So welcome. Happy Thursday. Let's go. We've got finally a little weakness in the market. We want to see this. We've been extended 1, 2, 3, 4, one rest day, 5, 6, 7. So we've been green 7 out of 8 days. It takes a lot of the range out of it. I'm sure a few of you guys have noticed in the chat room, it's been more choppy. And what I mean by more choppy, first of all, choppy is like such a pansy word. It really is. It's, I wouldn't say choppy, but you haven't been able to get like the elongated gains. Like, you shred half your shares and then they start to drift back. You have to do less scaling out essentially when things get a little bit extended, because you just don't get the same runs in individual names. We've got some coronavirus stuff happening again. It looks like, our Chinese overlords are running around, burning bodies and doing God knows what out there. And so we're getting some action. It looks like, we're getting a nice kind of range, at least so far. Like we dropped 3 points, came up 1 point. That's what I want to see. We need a little bit of volatility because it has been a grind the last 2 days. I can't even count the last 2 days how many times I'm up like 50 cents or $1 on like a particular stock or something, right? Like, you hit your first target, you put a stop at your buy price, and then it just comes right back down. I've been seeing that for the last actually 2-3 days. Part of that is because you're getting extended. You just don't have the volatility that you need. This should add a little bit of volatility. And in an extended market, you want like early morning dumps, because then you can get an opportunity to go red to green on a lot of names. So I like the action that we're seeing so far in the pre. I think for today, let's add this TVIX to the watch list. Obviously, this thing's just a big downtrend, but when the market gets a little bit scared, right, you get a little bit more volatility on this one. I like this one. First of all, like if the market starts to shake off, then we can long this thing. It is getting a little bit oversold, and we'll see if we can kind of come back. But if it just pops up huge too, we often short this thing and go back the other way. Let's take a look at some earnings plays, and then we'll go into some of the other stuff. These virus plays are, coming back in flavor. This APT, it can work if it can hold over 2. This is a pump and dump stock, though. If it pushes hard into 6-7, frankly, I'd probably look to short it. But for now, because it's come down like nearly 50% off its highs, I think you probably get like a 1-day play on this one. Same thing, you got NNVC. A lot of these have come down like a huge chunk of the way. They're probably due for a little bit of a bounce. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing curl, maybe get back into the 10 spot. Now, the trend on this is over. When you get a dump like this, the trend on it is over, but you will get relief bounces as you start to see news happening over in China. A lot of these things will start to move. So I would definitely add a couple of these. I find APT trades a little bit easier than NNVC. NNVC's just got that monster spread on it. It just doesn't got the juice the way I like it. INO was another one. This thing, man, I nailed almost the top of this thing, covered way too early, huh? We should have kept shorting it every day. Damn. You see this thing pop up too? Watch this thing. If it breaks over 4, then you're going to get a little bit of a run probably. If it stays under 4, then it's just a relief dead cat bounce, and you can't trust it. Anything over 4, you probably cook this thing in the 5 spot, and then if it makes a lower high, we can definitely reshort these bad boys and go into all that. Beyond that, let's see. There's all sorts of little small caps going around today. If you see like some of this stuff like CPH, you're starting to see some moves in some of these bad boys. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of these run. When the market gets a little bit volatile, the big boys tend to kind of bleed out of a lot of larger cap names. And then the only people left are like the degenerate chat room traders. And so you see some of these things start to get pushed around. Now, I won't trade it because I have, respect for myself. My mother taught me, right, to always have respect for myself. So I'm not going to be playing this one, but it does have some action on it. And frankly, you got a little bit of room to pop on this. But most likely, this is a dead cat bounce too within the context of this, right? It was a crash pullback for the most part. Hold on here. Let me configure this. Hey, Paul, how you doing, brother? Get rid of all these little turdzillas. There we go. Oof, I'll clean up my list a little. All right, hold on. You got to always kind of reconfigure these depending on what you're seeing out there. There we go. Now it's going to be a lot easier. All right, cool. All right, let's check out MRSC. Yeah, I don't even see this. It's just like a one candle pop. Maybe it's a buyout or something. BTAI. Yo, this thing is kind of pushing up. A lot of biotechs are hot right now. This one, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go today. If you see like what the IBB index is doing, you're right at that sweet spot. This is a daily chart on the IBB. If you look here, you keep nuzzling right up against this like 123. 123. You're going back quite a few years. If this thing thrusts, we're going to get a push in some biotech names. So you're starting to see like a lot of these even move around in the pre-market. Keep this LABU on your watch list. If that IBB thrusts, this LABU is the 3X ETF for IBB. We want to be watching this one religiously. Now back to BTAI. I do think that this one probably has a little bit of a run in it. It just doesn't do enough volume for me, so I usually leave those kind of stocks alone. You can see Lake. This is another coronavirus. Play. Does trade a little bit thin, but when one goes, they all go. So keep that. Keep a few of those on your hand. You're gonna need them. And the Zag only does 1 million shares a day in volume, not enough for me. In earnings season, guys, you want to have like much bigger, you need much bigger volume. So this RDFN's a real estate company. You have like a nice range break over here that's developing. This is a weekly chart on it. So if you look at the weekly chart on this, you have a level over here that has been really sitting at $26, $27. You're starting to crush over that in the pre-market. When you think about, any stock that has like an earnings out or something along that end, you want to always go back on your daily chart. You always want to go back on your daily chart and just see like, okay, where the level's at. First of all, there's a couple other things to do. This is a newer issue. What I mean by newer issue is that this stock came out in 2017. So it's not technically an IPO, but I consider anything that's come out in the last 2-3 years an IPO stock. The biggest runs, if you do any analysis of what makes like the biggest runs in the stock market over the period of 30 days, 90 days, 6 days. So if you run like a momentum scan, so you got 90 days, 30 days, 5 days, like year to date. If you do a momentum scan for like stocks that are up the most, the last 6 months, see right here. So if you do, you can even do 1 year, but I'll usually do six. Let's do last 6 months. What you'll see on most of these is like they're newer issues. There'll be newer issues, and they tend to have like very neglected bases, and then they start to go. So like they're newer issues, and then they'll be like very neglected where they don't do anything, and then they start to go. And you'll see that a lot, like very neglected, and then they start to go. Very neglected, then they start to go. And that's like the key to pretty much like all these kind of stocks. See like this thing from 4 to 21. newer issue. So there's two kind of stocks that really work. Number one, you got neglected stocks that sit around for a long time, and then you have newer issue. See this CDLX? Newer issue. So what are we getting at here, right? If you don't understand momentum, how momentum works and where it starts and what causes it, but most importantly, what is the profile of the type of stock that can make 200, 300, 400% moves over the course of 1 year, right, to 2 years, you have to know what are the type of stocks. Is it going to be a stock like Bank of America? Is it possible that it could do that? No. Is it possible General Electric could do that? No. Typically, they're newer issues or they are lower float stocks that are very neglected, that have a very long base where they do nothing. So that's where you got to always roll with these. The biggest runners always start. So these are all stocks that are moving up 500, 200, right, in 6 months. So one thing you should do every single day, see this space? Neglected, newer issue, neglected, and then go. All of these kind of names, right? Newer issue, neglected, and then go. So remember, that's how momentum starts. So you have to always know, what are the characteristics around them. So RDFN is an interesting name because it is a newer issue. And let's see what the float is on this. The float's 87 million. The interesting part of RDFN too is, you got 21.25. So 21% of the float is short on RDFN. You got 21% of the float short on anything over if you've got 10 days to cover, if you know what days to cover is, take the average volume of the stock. Right? Take the average volume of the stock, take the number of shorts, figure out how many days of volume would you need to cover all the shorts. If you get something like 7 to 10 days worth of shorts, man, you're going to have something that's really, really cooking. Does that make sense? Good. So add RDFN to the watch list. ESPR is cooking this morning. Hey, this has been a really, really hot chart for a little bit. It's got a nice range on this. This one doesn't do any liquidity for me though, so I'm staying away from it, but does have a nice looking chart on it. TPX. Temper Peely is not bad. This one looks pretty good too. I would roll with this one. I'd roll with this one too. I would add this to the list. You probably got a fairly 53 million share float, only 5% short, but it should move okay. Chunk, NVX, chunk. Exhibit. You guys remember that? What was that show that Exhibit used to do? Pimp My Car. Anybody ever watch that thing? That thing was epic. Now that was a show. You take the ugliest cars and pimp them out. All right, so this Exhibit's got some news out. I don't know what it is, but you already see a pretty good range on this bad boy. I'd roll with this one. You got a gap fill down to 15, and then you got, support at 12. I got two issues on this one. Number one, you're going to have to check and see if you got borrows on it. Sometimes these particular type of biotech names don't have any borrows. The other one is going to be liquidity. But if I start to see some kind of basing out action or some type of sideways action, I think that this one's going to have a little bit of a chance. Oh yeah. Let's add that one. It's not perfect though because it's already down. It's already down 25%, so we got to be a little bit careful of it. Oh, Pimp My Ride. That's what it was. NRBO, not enough volume, man. These random biotechs that are actually in the $15, $20 range have been flying around the last couple days. Not enough liquidity for me though. BE. Plans issue Q4 results, restates prior results to the change of revenue record. Revenue recognition. Interesting. Hey, so when you get stocks that like have to restate their earnings and stuff like that, never a good sign. Now it is already starting to pop its way back up. I would actually add this to the short list. Usually when companies like start to restate their revenues and stuff, I mean they could come out and restate it and say like they got none. Seen that happen before too many times. They come on and just say, sorry, it was all the Fugazi. Yes, New Skin Enterprises. Man, these guys got a nice racket going. Anybody ever seen like a New Skin salesman? They got a nice damn racket going. First of all, I like this one for potential short. These guys are like the multi-level marketers that do, skin stuff. It's like the Herbalife for skin. Man, you get, like, I had to buy some of this stuff. I had a friend from high school. You know when, like, a friend from high school, like, asks you for something? You don't want to seem like you're, like, this cheap ass who's got no money. I didn't want the stuff, but I didn't want her to tell anybody because, I had my high school reunion come up. I didn't want her to tell anybody I was a cheap ass, even though I am because I am Indian. She's like, hey, selling me all these face creams. She's like, oh, I just got a couple creams. She's like, I've been seeing you on Instagram. You've been traveling a lot. These face creams are going to make you look so young, so this. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right, send me over these New Skin face creams. Next thing you know, she sends me over like a little box. It's like this damn big and looks like a lunch box or like a Happy Meal box back in the day. $400. $400. I thought it'd be $30. $400 right off the bat for all the shebang. Let's just say, when I saw her at that high school reunion, I let her know that she might need a little face cream for herself. Hey, if this thing hits off right off at the first candle, guys, sometimes these things like right off the first candle, like, you don't normally like to just shred them like opening candle. But like we did it on Lyft yesterday where like it just opening candle, like it just shredded down. We may have to do something on that. I'm curious on the liquidity on this. It does normally 800,000 shares, so it should be liquid enough in the couple milli today. So I wouldn't be too worried about it, but definitely let's add that to the list. That's top of the list here. New Skin. Man, I can't believe I fell for that. Maybe I'm just a nicer guy than I think, like I'm always falling for these schemes. Brad, I mean, you can imagine at your 20-year reunion how these ladies are looking. Especially in Michigan. When you get into Michigan, by the time you're 30, it looks like you've been working in the factory for a very long time. It's that cold weather, the cigarettes, and the beers that get you. This is what gets you in Michigan. I mean, it's just so dry. When I go visit my parents in Michigan, I'm like putting like foot cream on my face just to keep it moist. You can see here in Florida, it's so humid. I'm already glistening. I'm working up a sweat down here. AVRO, not clean enough. NTAP. Yo, this NTAP looks good. It looks like the shorts are better than the longs today. You can see this NTAP's been bouncing for a few days. You got earnings out. It looks like it's getting dusted on the earnings. Ooh, yeah. I like this NTAP. Yes. You got a nice range break here, and then that coincide with down here. Hey, this type of thing, it can shred really quick right at the open. This one looks pretty good. Yes, I like that one. Let's add NTAP to the list. Yo, this rider's actually kind of cooking around too. You see down here, if you break below this trend line and you start the ORB down there, if you're not familiar with ORB, let me know, right? I got a ton of videos on all that kind of stuff, but man, I don't really see anything there that hot. What do you think? Yeah, nothing that special. Yo, Yeti does have earnings out today. There hasn't been It's moving around a little bit here, but frankly, it may just have a delayed reaction. I would keep Yeti on the watch list. I'd keep Yeti on the watch list. I think that one, man, this thing's due for a big move because it's been like just coiled up like all other. All right, zebra, chunk. Look at her. Herbalife getting smoked out too. You know, in the end, like how funny it would be if like Bill Ackman was right, but he just covered too early. This one's got not enough. I think this one's just going down because of Nuss. Does AYX got earnings out today? Oh, it's already come out. You know what? I would add that to the list too, because this one tends to have a delayed reaction also. Yeah, it tends to have a delayed reaction also. Let me see this thing. Did they already come out or are they coming out after hours? Does anybody know? Somebody check that for me. Go on Earnings Whisperer, I'll tell you. Oh, we got this other stuff. PF, junk. Cisco. So Cisco's gonna, Cisco should weigh down on the markets a little bit too. It's floats though. That's a monster float. Like you got to stay away from stuff like that. Junk. All right, so those are the earnings plays. I think out of this phase, like the only one's really worth playing is going to be this NTAP. Always rank your plays, guys. Rank them. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. I think this B is going to get some action. Yeti, TPX, the rest of this. And then, yeah, this NUS too. This NUS. All right, so those are the earnings plays. Let's talk about like just regular stuff. With the market being under flux like this, right? With this pre-market move, you've got yourself some volatility. There's two plays that you have to look into. Number one, the virus stocks are all going, right? If the news gets worse and worse over in China, then these virus stocks, they go up, and individual Chinese names, like coffee shops, like hotels, those are short. So see this Luckin Coffee? This thing, you know, it's been kind of just like grinding along for the last couple days. If it breaks this trend line, guys, we might be able to short this thing. Yeah, we might be able to short this thing if it breaks below this trend line. So short Chinese names, long coronavirus names if things get Gnar. EHTH isn't not EHET. Man, what the fuck? What was that Chinese hotel one we were looking at? I forgot it. Whatever. Momo. See this one? This is a bear flag right here too. You got breakdown, pullback. That one can work. Baidu. You know, there's another one you can already see here down $4. That one's looking good too. Billy is frankly really, really strong. I would say this is out of all the Chinese names, this one is probably the one to stay away from. This one never seems to crack. Baidu, Momo, and LK, frankly, is the most tradable out of the Chinese names. So if the virus news gets worse and worse, you start to see the market reacting to it. The market starts to tank. Short Chinese names, long virus names, till that ebbs, and then you flip it, and you short the virus names, and then you long the Chinese names. Comprendes? Good. On the other hand, too, also watch this space. It seems like every time it dips, it just starts ripping back $3, $4. Its earnings is not for like 10 more days. You know, it may just keep running into it. We goofed this thing up. See that, like opening dip, and then you start to rebound, 20 EMA pullback, Flagzilla, so on and so forth. It's a little bit long in the tooth right now. The volume is getting almost parabolic, but it's not necessarily parabolic on the chart. Like it is, but it's not. It's up a lot, but it's not necessarily parabolic. So any big dip on this, like I would not be surprised to see this thing go. So guys, let's go do what we do. Last couple days, remember what we were seeing in the chat room the last 2 days. We were getting gains on stocks and then they were drifting back. So we need to make sure if we start to see some type of shift in that kind of stuff, then we've got to make sure that, you know, we're prepared and we don't scale out as aggressively. We just take